I've had a couple of different careers. I'm like on my third or fourth career, which, that's just how it goes. I'm in my mid-50s, so I've been around a little bit. But basically, I started out as an accountant. I was a CPA with a big firm, and then it was all right. I learned a lot, but I decided I needed to go to business school because I really wanted to be on Wall Street. That was kind of like, back in the 90s, I was like, I want to be an investment banker. And so I went to business school at the University of Chicago. So we moved from Dallas to Chicago. We had a brand new baby. My wife's like, what are you doing to us? We moved to Chicago. I got a degree in business. And then from there, we moved to Manhattan. And I went to work for a big investment bank called Morgan Stanley. And I was an investment banker. And that job was insane. Like, the minimum was probably 80 hours a week. Multiple 100-hour weeks.
When you say
you can't even until you've done a week like that, you can't even imagine how much work that is.
What is a day for like an investment banker there?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I mean, every day's different. But because half the time you're trying to help win business, right? Because there's always business development going on, and so you've got some senior guy saying, "Hey, we need to go 3 days from now to pitch this company on a merger." So you need to analyze every single division of the company. You need to tell us what they're worth, and you got to, of both companies, then you got to go do a whole pitch deck. And so you might be like, crap, okay, this is going to take me 72 hours. The meeting's in 72 hours. And so you just never go home.
Is it like high paced? Like you got a team?
Usually the teams are small and thin, so there'll be like, there's like a brand new analyst guy who will be like right out of college helping you crunch the numbers, and you're crunching numbers and putting together presentations, and you're thinking about the economics of deals. And then you've got a couple senior guys kind of telling you what to do, waiting for you to get the work done, basically. And so, one of my craziest experiences, we actually were hired on a merger of a big Mexican glass manufacturing company. And they made auto glass and building materials. And they were trying to merge with a British glass company that supplied most of the glass to BMW. It was a company in Mexico called Vitro and a company in England called Pilkington. And the merger never ended up happening, but these two companies were having discussions, and so we had been hired by the Mexican company, and so we had I think there were 7 divisions of Pilkington, and there were like 5 divisions of Vitro, and we had to basically figure out what every division was worth to figure out, hey, how do we combine these two companies, and what's the appropriate value, right?
Is it tough with the currency difference and stuff like that as well?
Not as much. I mean, you can kind of dollarize everything, but really the idea is, as an investment banker, you're a valuation specialist, right? You can either help companies buy and sell each other, or you can help companies sell stocks or sell bonds. So it's all about valuation. So anyway, we had this meeting on a Wednesday, I think it is, and me and my team had worked all weekend. And I think I got home like at 10 o'clock Sunday night, and I told my wife, this might be a long week. And so I showed up at work Monday morning, and it was clear by Monday night we weren't getting there. So I worked all Monday night with my staff. And then Tuesday morning, I ran home, got a shower. We worked all day Tuesday. We thought we were mostly done, jumped on an airplane to Mexico. We show up in Monterey, and the CFO of the company calls us, hey, I want to make all these changes before the meeting. And so, we stay up all night Tuesday night, right? And so next thing you know, it's Wednesday morning. We're in the meeting. We got the work done. We're like, honestly, I was totally glazed. I don't even remember the meeting. I have zero recollection of the meeting. But, and we had all these senior people there, and we go through the analysis, and we're like, all right, this is the deal we're going to try and negotiate with Pilkington. So we go home, and my senior guy's sitting here chatting with me, wants to debrief and start saying, okay, what are the next things we're going to do? And I think we had to connect through Houston or someplace. We're in Monterey, Mexico for this meeting. And so we're in Houston, and I'm like, I cannot listen to this guy for another 10 minutes. And so I went and I to the desk, and I said, hey, do you have any flights into Newark? We were all flying back to LaGuardia.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, it leaves about the same time. So we're all boarding our flight, and I'm like, oh, look,
our
secretary must have booked us into Newark on accident. So I ditched those guys. And so I go get on this plane to Newark, and I sit down in my seat like this. And next thing I know, the stewardess is shaking me. She's like, sir? I'm like, yeah. She's like, we're here. I missed the whole flight. I had no recollection of even taking that flight. Luckily, I sat down, and she woke me up in Newark. And the plane was empty.
Yeah. No way, it was empty?
It was empty. Everybody had already gotten off.
Dude, how often did that happen? How often did you have to
I pulled an all-nighter once or twice a month, probably.
Yeah. No way, really?
Yeah, at least for the first 2 or 3 years. I was in that career for about 6 years.
How do those meetings, who who heads that meeting? Is it you guys with all the
Kind
data?
of, well, yeah, us. But what happens is typically investment banking is usually a pretty high level thing. So it's usually a CEO or a CFO of a company. Sometimes it may be a board of directors of a company. And then there's always a point person at the company saying, hey, here's what we've asked you to think about, right?
Yeah.
And then if we have the right kind of relationship, they'll call us and say, hey, we want Morgan Stanley to be our advisor. So it's a relationship business, but it's also you got to have the intellectual capacity to help companies understand what to do.
And like that meeting that you had, it was in Mexico, right?
It was in Mexico. So like the CEO was there, the chairman of the board was there, the CFO was there. Then we had like 3 of our most senior people, and then we were like the number cruncher, younger guys, right?
Yeah,
because I was like in my late 20s, early 30s by this point, right?
I'm like picturing movies and stuff where these guys are sitting in front of each other with suits, and you're up
Yeah,
there
I mean,
pitching all this data.
That's
kind
kind of like it was. And in Mexico City, this like chain smoking, right? So I'd come home from these meetings, my wife would be like, dude, you are not allowed in the house. Strip down, put your clothes somewhere else in a bag, and go shower. Like it was like... and these guys too, back in the days, like leading up to these meetings, we had a few trips to Mexico. And so these guys would take us to lunch. And the food in Mexico is incredible, as you know.
Yeah.
And so we'd get this great food. Then they'd be like, yo, shots of tequila. I don't drink, but these guys would like hammer tequila shots. Then we'd go back to the office. I was like, how are you guys even functioning? These are like the senior guys of the company, And I was like, wow, this is a crazy place. But anyway, Wall Street's a pretty fast-paced moving place.
Yeah.
Mostly because there's a lot of business cycles and they don't want to staff up too big, then have to lay people off. So they just stay really thin. So they just overwork everybody to death.
I'm like picturing like accountants during tax season, but 12 months out of the year.
Yeah, it's like I did accounting and it's like way more intense than accounting.
Is it?
Yeah. It's crazy, but they pay you a lot of money and they have the golden handcuffs on you.
Yeah.